conversation. Level up, elevating. We family here, not strangers. Judgment-free zone. Build strength and be strong. The journey is long, but the gift is transformation. Self-love, strong faith, a little patience. From the reign of pain to power, victory is ours. We voices of valor. Sisterhood, strength is stronger than wood. From the birth to the hood, we lead with resilience. Peace, purpose, healing, and fulfillment. The art of repair. The art of repair.
Welcome to the Art of Repair. I have my beautiful guest on here. Her name is Deanna Shackelford.
Hello.
Yes. And we're going to be talking about some things today that hopefully inspire you to take action, inspire you to really look inside, and even to notice the things that need to be changed, and then just change them. Our goal is to empower you to make a difference in your life, as well as in the others. So, as we go forward, can you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Well, as you've said, my name is Deanna Shackelford, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker at LCSW. I practice under a holistic umbrella, holistic psychology, which is, it advocates self-healing and incorporates mind, body, and spirit into the process. I believe that mind, body, and spirit are essential to the healing journey. Otherwise, what we're doing is behavior modifying. So we need to get every aspect of our human experience to be able to get the fullness of our healing journey, right?
Yes.
And so I have a heartfelt passion to help individuals on this process with over 20 years of experience that includes therapy, education, and even beauty. And then beauty is where it started. I think the journey to therapy is when I was behind the chair with clients and walking through their process, and this kind of led me into this journey. Besides that, I'm a mother of two adults, my kid adults. They are 27 and 25. I've taught elementary school. I've taught school and juvenile hall. I've been a social worker for Child Protective Services. All of that has led me here to this platform.
Awesome. Okay, so you are definitely one of the experts I wanted to have on here, because not only do you have an expertise in work, but it sounds like you do it in life as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I have my adults, but for the majority of their life, I was a single mom. Their father and I divorced when they were very young, 2 and 4. And so, I'm not just someone who went to school and learned how to do therapy. Therapy's always been in me, but I have a story to tell. And I feel like me having some real life experiences help me to help my clients.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I love that, because one of the biggest things, I have a therapist too. Love it.
Good.
Yeah, and working with people who have life behind them and not just a book or some information someone told them. That for me is so much more impactful in my life as well. So thank you for giving us who you are through your work. That's so important to me. And I know that to your clients as well.
They've told me that is very helpful.
Yeah.
So, yes, because I share my experiences. I like to give some real life examples of how I've overcome some things so that they're clear that this is not just something coming out of a book from me.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I love it. Okay, so today we're going to talk about manipulation. And we're going to talk about understanding it. And I wanted you as an expert. Now, of course, expert kind of gives us a connotation that you know everything or most things about it.
I know a couple of things.
Yeah, yeah. And so really what I wanted to do was to bring out the realness about what it is we know about manipulation, not just textbook, but that we want some information as far as, of course, you've given some great insight in your understanding of what it is as far as the definition and how it works and so on. Give us also your insight on how it affects us naturally, like how things happen when we can discern, or how to discern manipulation, in your words, however you want to start with that.
So I guess I would start with manipulation is a tool, and I like to say that, you know, our character traits are oftentimes tools, right? The strategies that we use to get what we want in relationship, I call them tools. Manipulation is a tool that people utilize usually when their toolbox is underdeveloped. Okay, so their emotional toolbox is underdeveloped, and so they will resort to manipulation, which most of the time people think that manipulation is something that someone does intentionally and they are meaning to be harmful. Well, that can be the case sometimes, but oftentimes, more often than not, with everybody with these tools, it's subconscious. We're not intentionally going out to hurt anyone or harm anyone or manipulate anyone. What we're trying to do really is protect ourselves, get our needs met, and so we use the tools that are available to us. So now, the difference between that are those who have like serious mental health disorders, like borderline personality or narcissistic personality disorders. That's how they operate. Now, that is not to say that's who they are or how they are, but that is the primary outfacing portion of their personality, is that they use manipulation as a way to get what they want. Okay. For most of us, though, it's grooming. If we were raised in households where there was trauma, and when I say trauma, people usually automatically go to the very worst thing. They're thinking sexual abuse or physical abuse. But emotional abuse is a trauma that most of us are walking around with today.
Oh, yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So emotional abuse is the biggest thing, I would say, for most people. Trauma is emotional abuse. Okay? And so if you had a family where you had parents who, one or both parents or caregivers in this case, okay, whoever it is, your primary family unit, where they were distant or withdrawn or not available or emotionally immature, you would learn from them how to get your needs met. And so if you had a parent who wasn't present, you might need to manipulate to get your needs met. Okay. Emotionally present, you might need to manipulate to get your needs met.
Yes.
Or if you were, say, a middle child lost in between other siblings who were more vocal about what it is that they needed, you might resort to manipulation to having your needs met. So it's not always malicious in intent. For most people, I would say it's a survival mechanism. And it sounds really cliche, but it's true that hurt people, but because they don't know any better.
Right. I can definitely see that. And the way that you put it is so good, because I actually got visuals about being a child who's, in the middle of two other children, having to figure out how to get your voice heard. Figuring out how to manipulate is a way to get your voice heard. Wow, that is so powerful, and I appreciate that, because it's not something I thought of before. And so I think a lot of people would think that manipulation starts off with malice. I think that's how it started off for me, and my understanding was, this is malicious. You're trying to hurt me.
Right.
Well, now that you said that, I can see how a person can operate that way. So I love the fact that you said, when you were talking about the personality disorders, narcissism, this is the way a person operates.
That's their operating system.
Yeah.
Just like the operating system in your computer.
Yes.
If you were downloaded with narcissistic tendencies from a very young child, that's the only way you know how to operate until you get an upgrade.
Yes.
Until you can go in and say, wait a minute, this isn't necessarily working for me anymore. I see that I'm causing harm to others, but not just others, but myself as well. By operating this way, now let's go in and let's get an upgrade. I speak a lot in analogies, sports analogies mostly, but I'll use whatever is necessary, whatever available for me. I do speak a lot in analogies. I find it helps people to really be able to conceptualize what it is that I'm talking about sometimes. So,
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It works for me, because it really is giving me visuals, which I need. Okay, so there's another part of manipulation that I would like to talk to you about, and even though we have and now more of an understanding of manipulation and how it can get started or become a part of an operating system for a person, let's talk about the other person that may be with them.
So the person who's being manipulated?
Yes.
So with that, it's the same thing. It would be someone who came generally from a traumatic background, usually where they were taught that their emotions weren't valid, their feelings weren't valid, their needs weren't met, and so they would be easily manipulated. Also, it's important to remember that being on both sides, the construct of that was done in your childhood, very early childhood. So from 0 to 7 years old. During that time period, what happens is our foundation for our belief system is developed by the time you're 7 years old.
Yes.
So in utero, when your mother is pregnant with you, you are developing a belief system. And by the time you're 7, it's firmly in place.
Wow.
Okay. And so if, again, you come from dysfunction, you will learn to survive in whatever way possible. But you watch your parents or whoever your primary caregivers are, and you learn how to be based on what it is that you see from them. So essentially, they're constructing an individual, a persona for you. Yes. You don't really have a lot to say with that at that very early age. That comes later on. We'll talk about, usually it breaks down when people get about their 20s is what I'm finding. Most of my clients are between the ages of like 18 and 30 years old, and they're all completely lost. Oh my God, who am I? What is this for? I'm so anxious. And a lot of them are in very manipulative relationships because that is what they learned from a childhood. So say you have a mother who manipulated, and you watched her manipulate the father or even her children to have her needs met, to get what it is that she wanted, then you register as, oh, this is how I get my needs met. Yes. And so then you just go out in your life and you begin to manipulate people. You're not doing it consciously, and you're not trying to hurt anyone. You're just mimicking behavior and trying to have your needs met.
Wow. Okay.
So, and that is also how a person is groomed into a relationship where there is manipulation.
Yes, I was just going to ask that. Okay, so we're on the same page with that, because this seems like, preparation for the future in my present now. As a child, I'm not thinking about, how this is going to be when I get into the moment. See, here's the story for you. I didn't bring this up before, but this is starting to make so much sense to me. It's clear now. I was working with a group of teenagers in high school, and one of the young ladies, we were working with abusive behaviors, domestic violence to be specific. And of course, we don't call it domestic violence while we're working with the teenagers, because they believe that there's no such thing that's working. I don't go through that.
Right.
So one of the girls, we were doing an exercise, and she simply stated, if her man don't hit her, she knows he don't love her. And I thought, are you talking about like love tap? I'm thinking that nowadays they have a different terminology for it. So I'm like, are we talking love tap? Are we talking slap on the face? Are we talking slap on the rump? Like, what are we talking? And she was like, no, if he don't get mad enough to slap me, then he don't really love me. If I can't get him to where he would get that mad, then it's not real love. And I thought, oh, wow.
Right.
This is something. And so the first question that came out of one of the other teenagers' mouths was, did your mom get slapped around?
Right. Right.
And she was like, yeah, but only by the men that really love her. I mean, she get a car from it. That's how we get our bills paid. And I just thought, wow.
See, it's a survival mechanism.
Wow.
Right? And it's learned behavior. And I would venture to say that she was also hit and told how much she was loved.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I this hurts me more than it hurts you.
Yes.
I'm only doing this because I love you.
Wow.
Right?
Yes.
And we have been conditioned.
Yes.
So not just the person who's on the receiving end of that, but the person who's on the giving end of that. And so let's call manipulation what it is. It's abuse.
Yes.
Okay. There is a such thing called emotional manipulation, and that is a form of abuse. Now, just like everything, it's on a spectrum.
Yeah.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So it could be, it's probably amongst the milder forms of abuse, depending upon who's standing on the other side of that. Because I've had a lot of people say, I would rather have experienced the physical abuse because the scars would go away. But what you've done to me emotionally has wreaked havoc in my life.
Yeah.
Right? So emotional abuse, emotional manipulation is a form of abuse.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So now I want to ask you about, so what are some common signs and tactics of emotional manipulation that people should be aware of?
Okay. So if you're on social media, you've heard this term more than once, right? Gaslighting.
Yes. Oh, that's everywhere.
Gaslight.
Yeah.
Oh, you're being gaslighted. You're being gaslighted.
Yeah.
Okay. Gaslighting in a nutshell is really lying. Okay. But it can look very different. All right. So gaslighting is when you're blamed for things or that you didn't do. And this is usually done by the manipulator to avoid having to take responsibility for their own emotions and their own actions. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So it comes in different forms. You can, they'll minimize your emotions, tell you what you're feeling isn't what you're really feeling, or they'll flat out lie to you, right? So it's like, they'll use phrases like, you're crazy, or you're just too sensitive, or you're just being too much. That's just extra.
Yeah.
When, in fact, you're really responding in a way that's appropriate to what just happened.
Yes.
So that is what gaslighting is. And it is, like all manipulative tactics, is a way to throw you off center and off balance, to get you to not trust your own self in the situation. So gaslighting is one. Love bombing, one of my favorites. Something that I've engaged in as well. I've always been on the receiving end of it and thought, oh, this is what's done to me. But I was a participant. Okay, so love bombing is a manipulative tactic that involves control over someone with using time and attention. So it usually happens in the very beginning of a relationship. You meet someone and they're like, oh my God, you're so wonderful. Where have you been all of my life? Oh, you and I. And so they immediately start talking about the future, and we're in a relationship. Like, we're talking about a couple of days in, weekend. Okay, we're not talking about a few months where something's established. We're talking about right away where you can do no wrong.
Wow.
These are the texts, and it feels really flattering to the person on the receiving end. But these are constant texts throughout the day, staying involved on social media or via text or phone calls all day long. Where are you? What are you doing? I'm thinking about you. It's love bombing. It's just talking, over someone in order to get them to feel an emotional attachment right away. Okay, I say people use it to hide their flaws, so that if I do this to you, now you have an emotional connection to me. Now you're going to start overlooking things and excusing behavior that you normally wouldn't have, because now you have an emotional attachment to me.
Wow.
Yeah. So
wow.
That is love bombing. Okay. People try they hide their true nature by being overly loving in the beginning of a relationship.
Yes.
So that's love bombing. Okay. Next one would be passive aggressive behavior. Now, this is when you won't say what's on your mind, and so you're passively aggressive. You'll make little statements that are contrary to what you feel because you can't say what you want to say. For example, someone might try to get your attention by being overly dramatic, like, or if you love me, you would do passive aggressive, okay? Because the person doesn't feel loved, and so they're trying to get you to say that you love them.
Yes.
So passive aggressive.
Yes.
Okay. Another one is just lying and bullying. I don't think that really needs to have any further explanation. We all know what lying and bullying is. So
yeah.
Threats and coercion. These are common with teens. Okay.
Yes.
You find this oftentimes. You find this with adults as well. Usually, though, borderline personality comes into play with this, where you'll be threatened overtly with harm, but more often they'll threaten to hurt themselves. So this is really common with teens. If you don't love me, I'm going to kill myself. Okay, so that's what that is. The threats and the coercion, very common with teens.
Okay.
Okay. Now, we're not going to say that we should always take it seriously when someone threatens to harm themselves and redirect them to help, right? We don't want to underestimate the possibility that may happen. But if it's something that happens regularly, I'm going to kill myself because they didn't get their way, it's a manipulative tactic.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's really good to know.
Yeah.
And it's really good to hear because having a teenager myself and going through that with the older ones, but for some reason, I feel like it's more common now than it was even with my older two.
I would agree because our children are becoming more and more anxious. We have anxiety. It is rampant in our society. Those of us who are older who struggle with anxiety, I realize now that I've had anxiety for the better part of my life. It just presented itself in a very different way than what these kids are. Ours looks like anger. Yeah. Ours looks like, defiance, just walking around angry and mad all the time. When people would call you a hater, that was really anxiety. For our kids, what's happening is there's fight, flight, or freeze. Our kids are freezing.
Yes.
Our kids are freezing. Their anxiety has made them not be able to move. And so that is, anxiety is just more prevalent with our children. And as such, they're feeling like they don't want to be here. They can't cope with the stress of life, but they don't understand that social media also has a lot to do with this. They don't understand that life is about winning and losing. They don't know how to lose. We gave them participation trophies. So no one knows how to lose.
Yeah. Yes.
And so the anxiety is rampant because they don't understand the duality of where we are, how our world operates. We operate in duality. And so there are a lot of them now who are considering suicide as an option because they can't cope.
Right. I'm seeing, so my teenager, her friends, I see her and hear her constantly giving my words to someone else, right? And some of the things that I'm asking her, so what is going on? I just need to know the structure of the problem. You don't have to give me all the details. Oh, well, they can't handle it. They're not able to cope with it. They want to hurt themselves, and we're trying to get them not to. And I'm like, who are the we? Okay, so let me give you these lines, text them this number. I want you to make sure. And I'm glad that she's open with me and she's honest with me about, things that are going on. So I can be a part of her helping someone for the better. But I do notice that it is so much more common hearing it from her versus hearing it from my 28-year-old who, he told me everything always.
Right.
But it wasn't a part of his flow. That wasn't even a part of what they talked about. And then my 23-year-old, she didn't. There was just a couple of times, but my 15-year-old, it's like constant.
Yes. So we have, generationally what happens with our emotions, right? So I'm a Gen Xer. Are you a Gen Xer? I think you're a Gen Xer. Okay. So we come from that era where we not punks.
No.
We not punks. Okay. No. So what that meant was we didn't really give a lot of time and effort and attention to our emotions.
Right. No.
Because we were told, stop that, don't do that. I'll give you something to cry about.
Right. Oh, yeah.
You want to cry? I'll give you something to cry about. We not punks. We don't do that.
No.
So we suppressed our emotions.
Yep.
Our kids went all the way to the other side. The pendulum swung all the way back and they live in their emotions.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like, yes.
Yeah. So, and then we don't know how to, what is that? Cut that out.
Stop it now.
What is that thing on your face? Water is dripping from your eyes. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we went from I ain't no punk to they live in punkness.
Right. Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Not really. But that's what it feels like to us. That's what it feels like to us. So they live in their emotions, and because we weren't equipped to deal with our emotions, we didn't equip them to be able to deal with theirs.
Yes.
So that's where that comes from. So another tactic is withdrawal and withholding. That it feels like punishment. Okay. So the person on the receiving end, it feels like punishment. And so what I call it is that push-pull, where the abuser will pull you in with some loving blah blah blah, and then they push you away. Okay? So they pull you in and they push you away. Withdrawing, and so when they pull away, they're withdrawing or they're withholding something from you. Time, attention, money, space, something. And it's usually simply as a way to just get what they need. They're trying to control the situation. And so they'll withdraw. It's like women commonly do that with sex.
Yes.
Right? But men do it too.
Yeah.
So, but women commonly do that with sex. I'm going to withhold that until you succumb to whatever it is that I need you to do.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So, please be clear. Also, that men and women equally manipulate in relationships. There are manipulative, abusive women. Okay?
Yes.
They're emotionally abusive, just like they're emotionally abusive men. I think typically when people hear abuse in relationships, they automatically err on the side of it is a man who is doing the manipulating.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And that men cannot be abused. They absolutely can.
Oh, yes.
So women do it as much. The form may look different. We don't do a lot of physical abuse, so that is why we resort to emotional abuse.
Yes.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So withdrawal and withholding are another way. And then the last one that I have would be isolation. And again, this is common with teens. And this is also a sign of abuse. When the person that you are involved in relationship with tries to isolate you from your family and friends to make them the center of your world, that is a form of manipulation. And it is also one of the warning signs for a greater, that could possibly lead into physical abuse.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really good to know. So for me, I think a lot of it would go from the way I would think I would see it would be love bombing and isolation would be easy to happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because now, and I'm going to say I'm being biased here, I get it. But I'm going to say it's easy because I'm a woman. Oh my God, he loves me so much. And so then when he's isolating you from your friends and family, it just feels like we're just spending more time together. We're developing our relationship. And you don't recognize that you've been distanced from the eyes and ears that would be able to say to you, something's just not right about this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love that because I didn't know about some of these. Love bombing, I knew about it from experience. Didn't know that was a thing, though. I didn't know that was what was happening as a part of manipulation. So that's really good to see and to know. Even isolation. It's funny because I probably was the person isolating people because I am total loner and love it. Like, I like being by myself.
Get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
I love it. So I could see how that could be a thing, even if I wasn't aware that that's what I was doing.
Then again,
Wow.
most of these actions are subconscious. So if I could use an iceberg as an example, okay, and everybody, how could the Titanic have been sunk by that little itty bitty iceberg? Well, it wasn't what you could see above the surface that was the issue. It was all of this, the 90% that's down here is what caused the problems. That's the same with our subconscious beliefs. Our conscious beliefs aren't the ones that cause us the problems. It's the subconscious beliefs that wreak havoc in our life.
Wow. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing myself. I'm seeing people around me. I'm seeing my upbringing. I'm seeing even work relationships.
Absolutely.
Wow.
It's because, and we'll get to this later. I was going to, say this later. But one thing that I think is important, and we talked about, you asked me earlier, how is it that people end up in manipulative relationships? Well, I think, and this is a nugget, this is a key. Your relationships with everyone else, including work relationships, friend relationships, romantic relationships, are going to be a direct reflection of the relationship you have with yourself.
Oh my gosh, that's so powerful. Yes, I can see that. I can absolutely see that.
So if you are abusive to yourself, you are going to attract people who will abuse you.
Yes.
Think about it. It's harsh to hear this, but it's the truth. People with a high sense of self-worth do not end up in abusive relationships.
Yeah. Yeah.
Abusers know they can't get in there.
Yeah. There's no space for them.
There's no cracks in the scene.
No.
Right.
Oh my gosh. That is so powerful. So working on self is imperative in order to make sure that you are.
Mind, body, spirit.
Oh.
It all starts with you.
Yes.
All of it starts with you.
Now, I know this is going off a little bit, but I want to ask about it because I keep hearing about it, and it also echoes from my past. Now, growing up, I was told different things, and I think because, I was in different types of environments. What I want to ask is, what do you have to say about those people who grew up like in the era that we did, but have this understanding about it's not about you? Because if it is, it's negative, that it's more you are being conceited, or you are wanting to just be the one and no one else matters. How can you explain that, as far as there is a need for it to be about you to get to this health station, versus, this is about you and it's unhealthy to do that. So how do you help us balance that? Because I want us to understand that better.
Okay. So it's kind of twofold. One would be rooted in narcissism, right? So making it all about you, taking up all the space in the room, is a little bit about narcissism. But the offshoot of that also is, it's about scarcity. It's about lack. What I mean by that is, we live in a world that teaches people that there's a finite number of resources: time, attention, money, energy, right? That there's only so much, and that if I give you a piece of my pie, that means there's only have a little piece left.
Yeah.
So the feeling is that if you are taking up if I believe that there is lack, or that I can't get what I need because you have some, then it feels threatening to me that you would come in and want to talk about yourself. Because where is the room left for me? So I would say that the very foundation of that belief is rooted in lack. The concept that there's not enough for me, that if you get some, I'm going to be left with a little bit. Emotions are not a pie.
No.
Finances, these resources are not finite. They're infinite.
Yes.
Time, we're not going to run out of time. We're not going to run out of emotions. We're not going to run out of opportunities to give. And so there is enough room for you and I to express ourselves and be as big as we need to be in the space.
I love that.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just had to put that in there because I know that I've been there, where being told that it's not about you and still needing it to be about me in order for me to catch balance and to be able to stay afloat in the life that I'm in. And also for me to want to balance with, yes, it is about you as well. However, we're peers, and it's not one after below the other. So needing to keep it win-win, where we both get to win here. I believe that that's a thing, and I believe that that's an important space for us to be.
Yeah, it goes against everything we've been taught.
Yes.
It goes against everything we've been taught. And so it takes bravery to stand in the space and say, no, there's room for you in here as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. If the room's too small, make the room bigger.
Thank you.
Move to another room. Go stand outside.
Yes.
But as long there's enough love and attention to give to everyone who needs it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I appreciate. See, this is why I wanted to have everyone to hear you, because I absolutely agree, and I know that there's women out there, there's people out there who need to understand and to hear it from somebody who can reach out through love and say, you are important enough to take up some space. The space that's here for you is just for you. There's space for me, there's space for them, but you have space, and I want you to take that space up. It's important. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So how does that impact a person's self-esteem when it comes to manipulation, or what are some signs that we can definitely look for within ourselves and even our loved ones maybe?
So there are going to be short-term and long-term impacts on when one is a victim of, and I don't like to say victim, but who's experiencing emotional manipulation.
Okay.
Right? Because if you're a victim, you're helpless. And no, none of us are helpless.
No.
We always have the choice to say, that's enough.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for that.
And so the short-term impact is you might feel isolated and lonely. There's always going to be self-doubt, shame, confusion, which basically is an umbrella for low self-esteem.
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
There will also be a fear of interacting with others, and one might experience avoiding other people because of that experience of being emotionally manipulated. Long-term effects are possible mental health conditions, the development of anxiety or depression. Okay, it could be an impact. Neuroticism. What that means is having a tendency toward low moods, extremely low moods, all the time. That would be neuroticism in clinical terms. Okay. Chronic stress, which is going to ultimately have an impact on your, not just your emotional, but your physical self as well. And your body is going to begin to experience discomfort and disconnect and possibly dis-ease.
Wow.
Okay. So one of the things that I like to teach my clients as mental health relates to your body, when we suppress emotions are just energy in motion.
Oh, I love that.
Okay.
Yes.
And so we're going to get a little science in there.
Yeah.
What we know about energy is that it never dies, right?
Yes.
Energy never dies. It just takes on a different form. Okay? So an emotion is energy in motion. And so if we suppress our emotion and it stays in our body, it has to express itself because it doesn't die. So what it does is it becomes sickness in your body.
Wow.
Yeah. That is why you see people that hit their mid-60s and then all of a sudden you see this sharp decline in their physical health.
Yes.
That would be years and years and years of suppressing emotions. That would be one factor.
Wow. Thank you for that. Because that literally just helps me to check myself internally. Where's this energy going? Where's this settling?
I always say better out than in.
Absolutely.
Yep. Better out than in. So say it. Find the courage to say it, express it, write it down, tear it up, whatever you need to do. But get it out. Because it is going to have a long-term effect.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you.
And then, there might be attachment challenges. So an inability or difficulty with formulating a genuine attachment with other people, including your children.
Wow.
Including your children. Because if you're detached from your emotions, how do you attach to them to supply whatever your children needs? Detachment is detachment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That gives me compassion for the woman who feels like she just doesn't have maternal instincts, or she just doesn't have that maternal attachment to her children or her child.
And the flip side of that is also, so absolutely, and I was just thinking about this recently, how much of that plays into absenteeism for fathers?
Oh my gosh, yes.
How much does anxiety and manipulation and distress play into fathers being absent?
Yes.
Just a thought.
Wow. That's beautiful. Yeah, we can spread that compassion way further than just this platform. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's some real peanut butter spread right there. Like, it's thick. That's real. I love that. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Anytime a person can help me to see where I can give more love and attention to, I feel loved, because I feel like what you did for me just now is you opened up my eyes of compassion towards people that I might have shunned or disregarded or even thought ill of in the past. Now I'm like even right now, my wheels are turning backwards, going down memory lane. Like, who could I have offered compassion towards versus that ill thought or that disregard? Like, you know.
Yeah. Where did I withhold love when that was what was being asked for in the space? Was love.
And they didn't even know how to ask, and I didn't decide to look for something to give to them versus feeling like they just took something away or just. Wow, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Now I get to level up a couple more levels when working with people and even hearing people now. I'm going to be listening differently now.
Yeah, now you have different listening ears. Now you can lay down the judgment and hear with compassion.
Yes, yes. Boy, you hit me on all sorts of levels. Thank you. All these angles. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I wanted empowerment. You coming in here just like fully charged everywhere. You're giving us the most here.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so what are some red flags?
Some red flags. Okay. So if you have endured emotional manipulation, one of the hardest things to do is going to be to trust yourself. But what I'm asking you is to trust yourself.
Okay.
If the person that you are with makes you feel emotionally drained, anxious, fearful, or doubtful of your own needs, you're questioning yourself, that is a huge red flag that you've been manipulated. You're being emotionally manipulated. Okay? You have to learn to trust yourself. And the very first time it feels like that, don't dismiss it. Don't discount it.
Wow.
Tap in. You don't want to overreact and assume that that's what's happening, but pay attention. Keep notes. How often does something like this occur? And then tap your emotions are your GPS. They tell you when you're in alignment and when you're out of alignment.
Ooh, say that again.
So your emotions are your GPS.
Yeah.
They let you know when you're in alignment or out of alignment.
Ooh, tell us how.
So your natural state, which is going to sound very foreign to most people, but our natural state should be joy and peace. That is truly what we are, is joy and peace, an expression of that, right? So if we're feeling anything other than that, we're not in alignment. And you might be just a little bit off, or you could be all the way off. So pay attention when you start to feel that overwhelming anxiety, that doubt, and you're questioning yourself, something's not there, not right. Tap into that.
Love it.
Tap into that.
Yes.
Yeah, like tap in. You want to actually move into it and ask, where is this coming from? So that you can get in front of it, get around it, do whatever work you need to do around it so that you can come back to being, back to center.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. Wow. So my center is
love and peace, joy and peace.
Joy and peace. Okay. I'm going to be looking for that center from now on. Thank you.
Your GPS.
What a blessing. That's a true blessing.
You know how your GPS says that to you? Rerouting, right?
Yes.
That's what your emotions are telling you. You need to reroute. You need to reroute. You're not centered. You've gotten off course.
Oh my gosh. And all this time, well, like you said, the generation we come from, we ain't no punks. So all this time, I wish.
Talking about emotions, I ain't no punk. What we talking about?
Right. If you could have spoke these words to me when I was in my teenage years, oh my goodness.
If I had someone speak these words to me in my teenage years, I may have saved myself just a little bit of time.
Oh yes, me too. Absolutely, some decades, really. Oh my gosh. Yes, thank you for that. So another good question is, how can we differentiate between typical relationship conflicts and manipulation? Like, how can we tell the difference between those two?
So it goes back to the last question. How far off do you feel in that conversation? If you're doubting yourself, mistrusting yourself, if you're overly anxious, if you feel tired, depressed, angry, out of sorts, that's what manipulation feels like. Just a regular conflict in relationships, because they're going to happen.
Yes.
In fact, that is how we grow, right? Iron sharpens iron. The pressure on the diamond, on the coal, is what creates the diamond. So you want that. You don't want the fairy tale idea of a relationship. And I'm not saying that it should be always tumultuous, but you want to be able to learn how to communicate through that conflict. So it's necessary. That goes back to what I was saying before about people not knowing how to lose. They don't know how to fail.
Yeah.
You want the conflict. You just want the tools to be able to walk through that, communicate through that effectively for both of you. It won't feel so far off center. It just will feel a little like, oh, something needs to be tweaked here.
Yes.
Okay. That's the difference, I would say.
I appreciate that, because being married for a long time, my husband asked me a question, why are you always so ready to leave? I'm like, because I don't want to deal with all that. And the thing is that the more that I started learning about myself, the more I'm like, oh, and this is just regular conflict. This isn't more than regular conflict, but I couldn't differentiate between the two.
Because your emotion, your emotional system is dysregulated.
Yeah.
In your history, I'm going to take a little liberty here and say that it's probably a similar past as mine, where when you had people who didn't know how to communicate in a home, it always felt like this.
Yes.
It always felt like a state of just unstable.
Yes.
And so what you do, or what we do when we come from that, is we're always trying to figure out how to dip and dodge around it so that you don't become the focus of the thing. Right?
Yes.
Let me get out of the way. And so if they didn't know, if your parents or your caregivers didn't know how to successfully, calm, peacefully, be mature on how to work out their resolutions, when the voice raised, you automatically turn into that child and you freeze.
Yes.
Now I just need to escape. It's because your emotion, it's dysregulated. Your system is dysregulated.
Yes. Yes.
So you respond like the child would.
Yeah.
I just need safety. Let me get away.
Yeah. You just helped me on that one for sure, because now I get it. I get it. All right. So what are the first steps someone should take if they suspect they're being emotionally manipulated?
Seek help. Don't minimize it. Try to reestablish your support system if it's been diminished. And understand that it is a process, and take it slow. Okay. Don't beat up on yourself. You've already been doing that. That's how you got to where you are. So it's not going to be helpful, right? Remember, your relationship with yourself is going to be reflected in the relationship you have with others. So let me just talk on that just a little bit.
Yes.
What I mean by that is paying attention to your self-talk. What do you say to yourself? Not when things are going well, but when things are going poorly, when they're not going your way. How often do you call yourself stupid, dumb, ugly, lazy, broke, whatever the thing is? You hear you.
Yes.
You are speaking to you. As if you were saying it to me, you were speaking to yourself. So if you are abusive to yourself, why would you think that anybody else would come and be loving to you?
Oh my gosh. That's a great question.
In fact, they can't.
Yes.
They cannot. Because your energy will not allow for it. You won't even believe it. So the whole idea of like somebody's going to ride up on the horse, and go back to Pretty Woman, that really old movie where the rich man drives up on the car and he's going to save the prostitute from herself. Not happening.
Yeah.
Not happening.
I can
So
see that.
your relationship with others will tell you about the relationship you're having with yourself. So that's the first thing to do. Check in with you.
Wow.
How am I being with myself?
Yes. I love that. That self-check. You've really been given some real insight on levels that I didn't even think I know I wasn't prepared for. My philosophy is this, and I believe I see it practically, and that is when speaking to a woman who is a mother, or even will potentially be one, you're automatically speaking to 3 generations deep.
Absolutely.
Speaking to her children, and her children's children right now.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, this is priceless, and I definitely would love for this to continue forward. And I want to ask you about showing yourself compassion. You've given me a little bit about that, but how do you What example of self-compassion can you give us?
So I think the best thing as it relates to self-compassion is to always remember that you're learning. You're learning as you're unlearning. So go back to your childhood. The person you are now is most likely the construct of someone else.
Yes.
It's not of your choosing.
Mm-hmm.
And so you are unlearning that, and you're learning to be someone new. And through that time, you need to be compassionate with yourself. Be easy. Would you go to the toddler who just picked up and started walking, and when they fall, would you berate them and tell them how stupid they are? How did you fall? What is wrong with you? Yeah. You should know how to do that. You already took a step. Why can't you get across the room?
That's real.
If you aren't going to do that to a child, why would you do that to yourself? Because the truth is you don't know.
Right.
You're just learning. So that's what compassion looks like to me. Be easy on yourself while you're learning.
I love that. Thank you. Yeah, we're a world full of walkers because of all the people that fell a trillion times before we got it right.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that example. Okay, so now I want to ask you if you can provide some strategies for individuals to protect themselves from emotional manipulation.
Again, that goes back to having a strong sense of self.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? If you know who you are, no one else can come in and define for you who you are.
Thank you. So that part right there, that defining part is what helps to protect us. When I have defined myself, when I define Myhisha, then someone else can't come in and redefine me without your acknowledgement and consent about that.
Mm-hmm. You'd have to give consent. You'd have to give consent. So if you have a strong sense of self-worth, then no one else is going to come in and define for you who you are. So how do we do that? You can do it on your own. You can definitely do it on your own. I always suggest getting an accountability partner or finding a professional who can help to reframe for you the idea that you've had about yourself.
Yes.
A second set of eyes is always very helpful. And when you're on the battleground in the middle of something, all you can see is the fight. You need the person who can stand up above and says, if you just move to the right and then take 2 steps forward and then move a little to the left, now you're out of that fight.
Yes.
But you can't see it when you're in the middle of it on your own.
I love that. So an accountability partner or a professional. Yeah. Thank you for that. I love that. So, and that literally segues to the next question, which is how important is it to seek help, and what kind of therapy or support should someone look for?
So if you're in a relationship and you get your partner to agree, couples therapy would be good. But as a therapist, I typically like to start people in individual therapy first.
Okay, I agree.
Couple stuff is usually individual stuff in a mess. You just put it in a pot and it's just boiling. So if each individual can go and work on themselves and come in as whole individuals back into it.
Yes.
Now you have a pot that works. You've turned down the heat. Now it's simmering. It's not, how you boil and it.
Yes.
Right. Now it's simmering, and now it can it can gel.
Yes.
Because that's what it's doing.
I love
so
that.
You can do couples therapy. Definitely effective. But I recommend that if you're doing couples therapy, do individual therapy as well.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I appreciate that because I also agree with that whole individual. There was a saying, remember way back with was it Jerry Maguire, the movie with Tom Cruise? You complete me. And that now, understanding what I understand about life and partnership and being an adult, that needs to be done before you get into this relationship. You need to be complete before you jump into the relationship. So for me, what you just said is very impactful, and it is empowering because to know that the woman needs to be an individual whole self and the man needs to be an individual whole self before they come into this relationship. That's powerful.
Absolutely.
That's powerful.
Absolutely. Because what happens is when you're incomplete, you're looking for someone else to fill you up. And that is a lot of responsibility to put on someone else.
Yes.
It's unfair.
Yes.
Because we like to do that, and especially when, you make me happy. No, they should be adding to the happiness that you already have.
Yes.
Because what happens is most of the time we don't even take a full look at someone's life to be able to say, yes, I'd like for them to manage my life.
Right. I think most of the time, it could be almost all the time.
Well, I was trying to be kind.
Yes.
I was trying to be kind.
Yes.
But now you're heaping this on to someone who doesn't even have really any clue about how they're doing their life, and you want them to now run yours.
Yes.
One, because you don't want to be responsible. Because it takes work. Healing takes work. We talked about this off camera, but healing, it ain't for punks.
No,
it takes work.
It does. It
right?
is not.
And a part of the healing journey people need to understand is sometimes it might feel worse before it feels better because you're unlearning. You're deconstructing that foundation. Mm-hmm. And while you're deconstructing that foundation, it may feel really unsettling until you put in new bricks.
Yes.
Putting in new bricks.
Yes.
So that is what I mean by it takes work. It will feel unsettling. And that's when people usually stop and go, that's okay, because they stick with the thing that's familiar even if it's painful. Mm-hmm. They know what to expect from this level of pain.
Yes.
When you're self-healing, when you're healing, it feels uncomfortable because you don't know what's coming next.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I appreciate that because that is so true on all sorts of levels. That comfort zone, that being in the comfort zone of discomfort, understanding what that discomfort is like. This pain, I know my strength and I know I can endure that. But this other side, I don't know my strength in that area and I don't know if I can endure that.
And what if it's worse?
Yeah.
We always think, what if it's worse?
Yeah.
That would be the anxiety. What if it's worse?
Yeah.
Or what if it's better?
Yeah. What if it's better?
Infinitely better.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for that. We're going to stay on that. What if it's better? What if it's infinitely better? I love that. So what role does self-awareness and self-care play in the healing process itself?
So going back to, if you have high self-esteem or high sense of awareness, no one else is going to define you. So I'm an advocate of self-care, right? Like prioritizing your well-being. You engage in activities that nourish your mind, body, and spirit, like getting regular exercise, meditations, hobbies that bring you joy, right? They help you to stay grounded. But I also believe that the self-care in that way, that's the way that the world defines self-care, is a small part, okay? The real flex is self-awareness with a capital S. Like getting connected back to the part of you that is the all that is. That is the real flex. And then that is what I do in my practice as I try to, with most people. I respect everybody's beliefs, but ultimately I feel like the problem overall is that we don't know who we are.
Yes.
We don't know truly who we are. If you get back to that big sense of self, that big S, then the rest of it begins to take care of itself. So incorporate mind, body, and spirit with a big S.
I love that. Thank you. Oh, wow. I love that. So can you share any success stories of individuals who've overcome emotional manipulation and reclaimed their life?
Yes. So I have a client. When she came, we first started working together. This young lady was literally sitting in the dark in her house. I do telehealth. So she was literally in the dark, like covered up. She had isolated for a year coming out of an abusive relationship, emotionally abusive, and sometimes physically as well. And through walking through the things that I've shared today, going through her 0 to 7, her childhood, understanding how she was constructed, how she was groomed to be, in an abusive relationship, getting her back in touch with her higher self, I would say it was about 3 or 4 months in, she was able to muster up the courage to find a job. Within the first month, she was Employee of the Week.
Wow.
Now she's 90 days in. She is Employee of the Month over the entire company.
Wow.
She's making new friends. She's getting out just by walking through and being able to gain a greater sense of self.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, so wait. I know we're going to do this at the end, but even on that part, can you please tell us how to contact you?
Oh.
For those of us who are so excited right now, we got to know this woman and get help from her.
So I have a website, and it's called Healing House Los Angeles. So the website is healinghouselosangeles.com. That is my website. Or you can reach me by phone. I think my phone number is 818-798-8086.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm going to ask you again at the end. Of course,
Okay.
I'm putting it all on our credits and everything. But after that, I know there's some people that want to just like, I need to know her now. So thank you for that. So what advice do you have for our listeners?
So trust your feelings, set boundaries, and be verbal about your boundaries. Let your partner know this is unacceptable behavior, and if you continue to do this, I will remove myself, and you tell them in which ways you're going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, set boundaries. Seek your support. Your old support network, if they're not available, find a new one. There are groups out there that will help. There are therapists out there that will help. Seek support, okay? Again, document your interactions so that you're clear on what's happening, so that when that person comes back and tries to tell you that's not what happened, you've documented it. Yes, it was, so that you know that you're not crazy. Because they're going to try to make you feel off center and off balance. You want to be able to say to yourself that I know what I felt, I know what I saw, I know what I heard. Document it. Okay. Focus on self-care. We did that. Educate yourself. Learn about what emotional abuse looks like. There's plenty of documentation online. Plenty of it there. Okay. Again, consider seeking professional help. If things get really dangerous, make a plan for safety.
Okay.
Have some cash somewhere you can go. If you need to have a burner phone, these are in extreme cases. You want to have a plan for safety, okay, for you and your children if necessary. And finally, take this, action. Take these actions gradually. You don't want to suddenly start, moving, and just be easy and gentle on yourself through this process.
Thank you.
If you're not in immediate danger, gradually. If not, then seek some help to get out right away. Okay.
Thank you for that. So how can friends and family support someone who's dealing with emotional manipulation?
So I would say that the very first thing that you do is believe the person when they tell you this is happening.
Thank you.
Okay. Oftentimes manipulators will get the family on their side, and they will show them only the bright, sunny, charming, loving side. And so the family and friends have a difficult time with understanding how this could be happening in the relationship. So believe that person.
Yes.
Okay. Then I would say listen to them without judgment. Hear their story. Be compassionate. Validate their feelings. Educate yourself on what emotional manipulation looks like, how it feels, how it makes people respond, so that you know what to do. If help them with setting boundaries. Okay? Because some people don't know how to set boundaries.
Yes.
They
took me a
absolutely,
few years
yeah,
to learn.
people don't even know how to set boundaries. They don't know what boundaries are, right? Validate their feelings. Encourage them to get help, to seek help. Respect their boundaries. So even if they provide a boundary for you, respect that boundary.
Yes.
Okay?
Okay.
If you're anything like me, you want to go get in somebody's face and start talking to them, do not confront the manipulator. You will likely make things worse at home for that person.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yes.
And empower them. Okay?
Yes.
Just remember that your role is to be support and to help them in any kind of way. Like even practical ways. Like helping if they have children, daycare pickups, things like that, just to help them to re-regulate their nervous system. Yeah, those things.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, those helping hands are important. I remember, yes, I remember when I was actually didn't know that I needed help because I was used to taking help. I mean, being the helper, and taking help is something that I give, not something that I receive. I remember I had a friend who literally was like, Myhisha, I'm just going to come over and visit you. And when she came over and visited, all she did was really just kind of hang for a little bit. And we got very comfortable and relaxed. And next thing I know, I'm sleeping. I woke up and she's cooking and had the kids playing games and so on. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know I needed that. And she was like, yeah, but I did. I could see you needed that. And so for me, that was a huge blessing. I also had a person who went off on my husband when she thought that he wasn't doing enough for me. that didn't work out too good. So, right. I had both sides of those that you just gave. And yeah, the side that was more beneficial as far as support for me was the one who came over and was just like, gave me the opportunity to see that I needed space and I needed help. And that was the beginning of my journey for finding boundaries. That I didn't even know that I didn't have boundaries.
They're important. They're very, very important.
Yeah. And
especially as women, we really have loose boundaries.
Yes.
Either loose or non-existent. Because the world likes to tell us that they should have access to us at all the time, and then you're selfish and self-centered if you don't. Well, really, how can I give and support you if I'm depleted?
Yes.
Right? So for those who, don't like the boundaries that people present, just kind of be selfish in that thinking of like, well, if I get them full, then they can give to me.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. And that's beautiful, because now that's something that I fully understand, especially having adult children. I see that when they're giving now, I stop them sometimes too, like, hold on, you're going a little too far with this, because your cup is getting emptier and emptier, and I'm not seeing how you are filling it back up.
Right.
So before we get to despair, which I know a lot about because I was there for a long time, where I would be so depleted and I see that I have a kid that needs help, or my husband is expecting this, or my family members are needing that, and then I got desperate, like, how do I do this and where do I get this from? And then nothing good comes from that.
Right.
Nothing good came from it.
Not at all.
Now I see it and I'm grateful for it. So thank you so much for giving us these tools and these thought processes. And I would just like to ask you if you have, because I know you have a lot of great nuggets, so anything that comes up in the top of your mind right now about something that would definitely be a powerful or empowering blessing, as just a word of insider knowledge, or just a phrase that you can give to us that has helped you or been helpful with you and your clients before, just something that you can say, here, take this with you.
I think what I would say is that you are more powerful than you know. Even right now, when you're feeling powerless, it's just because you aren't tapped into your power.
Wow.
It's there, just waiting for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Wow. Now I'm going to be looking for that power. I'm definitely going to be looking for that power.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I definitely want to get back to how to reach you again, because I said we would. I know I had to interrupt you earlier. I didn't have to. I chose to, because there's somebody out there that definitely was turned to the point where I got to contact her now. Okay. So I know that there's all of us who are out here who want to be able to reach Deanna when we need her, and also to pass on her information to our loved ones and our friends, and to use it for ourselves. So again, how do we reach you?
So I have a website, healinghouselosangeles.com, or you can email me at healinghouselosangeles@gmail.com, or you can contact me via phone at 818-798-8086.
Well, thank you, Deanna, and you have blessed us all. You blessed me tremendously. So
Thank you.
I hope that we can do a lot for Healing House.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure to give.
Awesome. If you or someone you know is in an unsafe relationship, call 1-800-799-7233 or chat live with a specialist. Text START to 88788. Remember, you are loved and appreciated.